4 people were killed and 2 were wounded in a mass shooting at a shopping mall just south of Indianapolis. That's Sunday, yesterday. It ended with only 4. The guy had several hundred bullets and was ready to fire them. He went into a food court in the Greenwood Park Mall in Greenwood, Indiana. It's about 6 o'clock. Police get a call. There's an active shooter. People started to tweet and send messages and call for help. Sounds of gunshot. It was happening right at the food court. A guy walks in and he takes out a rifle and several magazines of ammunition and begins firing at the people. There were 2 wounded, 12-year-old girl with a minor injury. Police said that she and other wounded individuals are transported to the hospital in stable condition. He fired 30 shots. He killed 3. And before he could do anything else, there was a guy in the mall, not a cop, not anything, just a guy with a gun. And he shot him and killed him. 4 dead, including the shooter. And they say that people with guns don't help. See, this is something that we have been convinced by a really bad president, a progressive, Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter is the reason our cops and fire department are called first responders. It was never like that. You were the first responder. You, in fact, in some places where in our founding era, if you walked into a town and you didn't have a gun, you were issued a gun. And you were issued a gun because it was everyone's responsibility to keep the peace. If you were a homeowner and you had a gun, somebody broke into your house, did something, leaves, goes to the next house. If you hadn't tried to stop that person and use your gun and hunted that guy down, you would be held responsible for the next house that he robbed. Because we knew the people who are actually experiencing it are the closest to the problem, and if they act, they can actually stop others. But now, after Jimmy Carter, we are told, wait for the first responders. That's ridiculous. That's the reason, this is the underlying reason, I think, that is has infected America and is killing us. You're not smart enough to be involved with your child's education. Leave it to the experts, okay? They're the first responders. They're the first teachers, not you. No, excuse me. I am my child's teacher. The teachers at school assist me while I'm at work. That's the way it always was and needs to be again. But that requires all of us to take responsibility. You know, I had a death threat. My first real death threat came from a Palestinian supporter. And I was talking about Israel. And I was talking about, you know, some of the things that were happening with Palestinians and Jews. And this guy calls up and he talks to my producer, and he says, Glenn Beck is lying about Palestinians. We're good people. And he says that we're all bad, none of which I said. And he keeps saying that, we behead people, and he's got to stop saying it. And if he doesn't stop saying it, I'll behead him myself. The producer was sharp enough. It was Stu, put him on hold, called the FBI or the police. Police called the FBI, but I had to protect my family. And that night they said, go home and close all the drapes, and you have a gun. And I said, no, I don't own a gun. And I didn't own a gun because I didn't think I was responsible enough to own a gun. I hadn't done any training or anything else, and I thought, I'll just get myself shot. I'll probably end up shooting myself doing something stupid because I didn't know anything at all about guns. And the FBI said, if you can't get out tonight, and it was very late, need to do the show from another state and never tell anybody, and you could be on the road for at least a month before this blows over. So my wife and I talked a lot. We were like, okay, this is what our life is going to be like, huh? And neither of us wanted to get a gun. And so we got a dog instead. That was the next best option. But then I trained myself, and I went through training, and I fire my gun an awful lot. The thing that is making it hard for me to help others and will put me in a situation to where I don't feel comfortable with my gun is the cost of the ammunition, which this administration is intentionally driving up. That only hurts law-abiding citizens, not because you go broke from ammunition. It's because you can't fire ammunition like we used to fire ammunition. I didn't even think about bullets. Now every time I fire at a range, every time I fire that gun, I think about what it's costing in ammunition and how hard it is to get replacement. So I don't want to shoot it all the time. That's extraordinarily dangerous, especially in a world that doesn't manage itself. Remember, we are a society that our system of government is, the founders said, wholly inadequate for a group of people that are not religious and moral. I don't think you have to be religious, but I do think you have to believe in some sort of higher power, something that regulates you. This was the argument between Thomas Paine and Ben Franklin. Thomas Paine didn't believe in the Trinity. He didn't believe in church. He believed in God. He just didn't believe in religion, and he didn't believe in, 3 in 1. And so he came out, and when he wrote his book that many atheists claim that he is an atheist because of this book, that's what the founders said, too. And Ben Franklin was like his dad. And he wrote to Ben Franklin and said, I'm getting all kinds of heat for this. And Ben Franklin chewed him out and said, of course you are. How dare you? How dare you dismiss religion? It may not be good for you, but the only reason we have America today is because of good religious people that interpreted the Bible the way it's supposed to be interpreted. You're benefiting from all of those people who self-regulate. So it's easy for you now to say, oh, well, we don't need religion. What happens when religion is gone and God is dead? We're beginning to see what happens. People don't self-regulate. They do whatever they want. They're being told there's really no reason for your existence. You don't count. You'll never get past, your obstacles because they're all because of things that happened long ago. And it's these people who have caused these problems, even though they didn't do it themselves. It's their relatives that did it long ago. Of course, we're going to have shootings. And so who's going to stop them? The police? As we found out in Uvalde, 400 officers were there. Lack of leadership. Now, I know that some went in and were rescuing kids by breaking the windows and just pulling them out of the classes. But none of them actually went to the door and just took matters into their own hands. They were all waiting for someone else. America, stop waiting. Stop waiting for someone else. By the way, another story. 26-year-old man allegedly held a knife to a gas station clerk's neck in St. Charles, Missouri. This happened on Saturday. So this guy comes in and he takes out a knife and he announces a robbery. Then he puts the knife to the clerk's throat and demands money from the cash register. At one point during the incident, a customer who had just left the store was walking by, and he looks in as he gets into his car. He looks in and he sees this guy with a knife up against this clerk's throat. And he was dragging the clerk, and she was screaming. So he goes into his glove box and he grabs his gun. And he confronted the guy who had the knife. And the suspect then, he was holding a backpack in his outstretched arms, and he said, "I've got something for you." Don't know what that meant, but he didn't know that the guy had a gun. He shot him in the throat and killed him. End of story. Why don't we celebrate these people? Why aren't these the people that we're hearing about instead of just the bad guys, and then they leave out the part of how it was solved? Because those people who have power don't want you to recognize the power that you already have. They need you to be beholden to them. They need you to need them. Don't. You are the master of your own destiny.